Hello class, welcome to section 3.1. In this we're going to talk about integers, and here we're just going to learn what they are. So the integers are all the positive and negative counting numbers along with 0. So if we were to look on a number line, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on, -1, -2, -3. So integers can be positive or negative, and they're basically the whole numbers that are positive, negative, and we always include 0 for an integer. And by using this number line, we know that 3 is bigger than the 2, is bigger than the 1, is bigger than the 0, is bigger than -1, is bigger than -2, is bigger than -3. So everything goes from left to right as far as how big they are when we're doing greater than. Okay, so going back to opposites, if we have negative of an x, that's going to be negative x. If we have negative of a negative x, that equals a positive x. Those are the opposites. We talked about those before, where we just need to change the sign. So if we have a negative on the outside, if it's positive to begin with, it becomes negative. If it's negative to begin with, it becomes positive. So if we have something like with real numbers, say we have negative of -3, negative of negative is a positive, and it's positive 3. Notice how I said negative of negative? Whenever you hear the word of, that means you're multiplying. So here it's negative times negative, since there's no numbers in here. But let's say we have negative, 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 -3. 1, 2, 3, 4. What does this equal? So let's just go backwards here. We have negative times negative is positive, times negative is negative, times negative is positive, times negative. So -3. One way you can do this is count how many negatives are right next to each other. Here we have 2 negatives right next to each other. It's positive. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's negative. If we have an even number of negatives with nothing in between except for parentheses, then our answer is going to be positive. If we have an odd number, like here, it's going to be a negative. So the next part here is absolute values. So absolute value of x is x. Absolute value of negative x is also x. The absolute value is basically the distance from 0 on a number line. So the absolute value is always going to be whatever is inside the absolute value signs, which are straight up and down lines, is going to be a positive number. But if we have a negative on the outside, that negative stays there, but what's inside becomes positive always, so it becomes -x. This is the part that some people will miss because they remember that it needs to be positive, but it's just what's inside the absolute value signs is always going to turn positive, even if it started positive. It's a little bit different than the parentheses. So let's say we have something like in absolute value of 3 plus 4 minus the absolute value of 2 minus 4. Okay, so we're going to do the absolute values first, or we're going to do what's inside there. So here's the absolute value of 7 minus the absolute value of -2. 3 plus 4 is 7. 2 minus 4 is -2. So now, absolute value of 7 is 7. Then we have minus absolute value of -2 is just going to be 2. So our answer here is 5. And that is it for section 3.1.